Once again, America is having to look at issues of race dead in the eye, and once again, we are at a tipping point. And the question for all of us in this room is, what are we going to do about it?
From idea to completion, the film took us about 4 years.
We combed through about just under 100 hours of footage for the film.
In total, we traveled to 9 cities with Jeffrey.
We had a pretty small crew, probably 7 people.
And it was only that big because we brought family to every single shoot that we had. Our mother was there, our sister was there, Jeffrey's wife was there. You know, it was crew and family.
We shot Who We Are, Chronicle of Racism in America on the FS7.
And when we were at Town Hall, we shot it on 7 FS7s because we were filming it concert style.
America has demonstrated its greatness time and time again, and America is one of the most racist countries on the face of the earth. Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
Can you talk about the inception of this idea? Where did it come from? Where were you two when you decided that you were going to take on this subject and Jeffery Robinson?
Well, as a lawyer, I have to take these really boring recertification classes every year called continuing legal education classes. So I went to this to get my credits, and I sat down in the lecture hall, and Jeffery Robinson changed my life. He was sharing a history of racism in this country that had so much that I didn't know. And he's an amazing teacher. He's generous. He's warm. He teaches you that this is a history that has been stolen from all of us and that it is our collective responsibility to get it back. And it was such a powerful experience being there for that I walked out and I called my sister before I left the courthouse. And I said, Emily, I know what we're doing for the next 5 years because so clear your schedule because, we have to help this man turn this into a movie.
We had been on a path toward racial justice that was amazing. There was the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. We were at a tipping point.
How long is this actual lecture if anyone were to go in and sit down from front to back? How long is that lecture?
It's over 3 hours.
How did you choose what to include and what not to?
It was tough. It was really tough. Jeff's presentation today is radically different from the presentation that he gave in 2018, the presentation we included in the film. But, it was 3 hours then, it's 3 hours now. He's never given the same presentation twice. We tried to boil it down to its essence without hurting his argument. I mean, he's a criminal defense attorney, so it was very important that he be able to present his evidence to build his case, So it was this very careful balance between whittling it down to its essence, but not taking out too much so that we would hurt his argument. We added so much to the film in addition to his presentation that we had to make room for it. So it was a process of taking things out and then watching it and being like, actually, I think we really missed that. We really needed that. Putting that back in, taking something else out, putting it back in. So it was like a reductive and additive process. It wasn't like a traditional editing experience for me at all.
Lynchings took place in this very spot. Everybody needs to know what happened because it's a part of our history, American history.
How did you prepare in telling that story? Was there anything that you needed to learn or possibly even unlearn in order to make sure that message came across clearly?
I think the process of working with Jeff was a continual process of learning and unlearning. I think the most important principle we started with was that this was his project. It was his talk and it was his film, and that he was going to have full control over what the message was, over the final edit. We were lucky to be able to help him put this out there, but that the essence of this belonged to him. Jeff has been giving this talk for over 10 years. It's a deeply personal message that he's been helming and researching and putting out there. It's also important that this was a collaboration between Black and white producers. Racism in America is our collective legacy. It's not the responsibility of Black America to make sure that we remember this history or to remember this history for us. It's a history that requires that white people reckon with it.
What was the moment during that process where a piece of footage, something you saw that you said, we have it, this is what it's about right here?
So Jeff speaks to this man with the Confederate flag is protecting a monument to fallen Confederate soldiers. And there's a moment after Jeff has this interaction with this man, something I really feel is the thesis of the film, which is, I had asked him if he thought that this man could be reached. And Jeff said that he didn't know. He didn't know if he could be reached, but that if no one ever tried, then we'd never know. And that the importance was in the trying, was in the trying to reach people across that divide. So that, as soon as that happened in the van, I knew that was a very important moment for the movie, for sure.
Slavery had nothing to do with the war because they were treated as family.
I don't know if he can be reached, but if no one tries, he definitely won't change.
I'm so grateful for all of it, really. I know there's a cost to sharing the way the people in our film shared on camera. I know there's a cost to Jeff every time he gives his talk. It's a physical cost to be a person who bears witness to history, who maintains history, who shares history. Most of the time, what I remember from this experience is being in the van with Emily and Jeffrey and our team after our interviews, and there was just silence in the van because we knew that we were so privileged to be there recording this and to be a part of putting something together to share these stories with the world.
And after each trip, we would all turn to each other and say, wow, that was the most powerful trip we've had so far. But every trip we'd say the same thing, So it was this continuous experience where we would just be blown away.
Virginia passed a law: an enslaved person's death while resisting a master is not a felony. Would you look at those words, please, and think about the videos you have seen in the past 10 years?
Shots fired!
It's still not a felony.
What message do you have for others out there and having a frank, raw interpretation of what happened and what we can do to move forward?
We think that you can't shy away from topics because they're hard and they're ugly. There's a James Baldwin quote that I'm going to butcher and summarize that Sarah and I have drawn strength from recently, which is that history is larger and more beautiful and more terrible than we've ever allowed ourselves to think. It's more important now than ever because history is being weaponized. There's states in this country where our film could be illegal to show in schools. And that's terrifying because information and history should always be available to everyone. I mean, we've been shying away from the truth about our nation's history forever. And look where it's led us. We are more divided than we've ever been. And it's going to be hard, but we should embrace it because it's also beautiful. And there's the other side to this. And when we get there, we think that we'll all benefit from it.
We've been getting this wrong for centuries, right? We have a wound that won't heal. And the only way to heal that wound is with the truth. And the only way for white children to grow into white adults who will be part of the change is to teach them that truth, is to give them the tools to be a part of the change in our country.
It's just too big of a story.
And this is who we are in America.